Grymmwood Peaks, a city so quaint it's almost offensive. It sits like an accidental ink blot between the gloomy, desolate peaks and the forever creaking Keth Forest, where the squirrels gossip louder than the drunks. The streets are always a little damp. The air always smells faintly of roasted onions and regret, and everyone pretends it's perfectly normal that the local apothecary is missing 3 fingers and still mixes potions without a spoon. I awoke in my attic room at the Hollow Oak Inn, which, contrary to the name, is not hollow. But it is shaped like a log that gave up halfway through being a treehouse. It was cold. My boots were on the ceiling beam for reasons I don't want to discuss, and my feathered companion, Bokk, stood on my chest. Let me clarify something. Bokk is no ordinary chicken. No, Bokk is a feathered enigma. A proud, golden-brown menace with eyes that scream, "I survived a goblin barbecue and I'd do it again." He's seen things, done things, stolen many things. And this morning, he greeted me with a peck to the nose that suggested murder. "I know," I groaned. "Talia wants the rent." Bokk blinked at me, slowly, judgingly. "Don't you judge me," I added. "You're the one who knocked over the pickled turnips display and got us banned from the winter market." He gave me a sideways cluck and strutted toward his nest, a repurposed laundry basket lined with a broken tavern napkin and several stolen buttons. "Fine," I sighed. "Time to hustle." Descending into the main hall of the Hollow Oak is an experience not unlike crawling into a bear's den. If the bear were a sarcastic, sharp-tongued barmaid named Talia, who could skin a man alive with a disapproving squint.
"Bozwick!"
She called out with her gentle voice, the moment she saw me. She always said my name like it had personally offended her 3 generations back. I put on my best smile. "Good morning, radiant flower of Grymmwood service industry." She pointed a ladle at me.
"Well?"
"You look beautifully hostile today."
"You look like rent is overdue."
"Touché!" I slapped a toothy grin on my face. 8 silver for the room, 6 for the food, and, what was it again, 2 for emotional damages caused by the chicken? She crossed her arms.
2 for Bokk launching himself at the harper's crotch.
In his defense, that harp was out of tune. She narrowed her eyes.
"Sundown."
"I shall not fail you."
"You always fail me."
"And yet, I remain optimistic." The job board outside the town hall leans slightly to the left, either from weathering the winds of Grymmwood or collapsing under the weight of hopeless employment. I approached it like one might approach a sleeping troll, cautiously, and expecting to leave with fewer teeth. Let's see. Urgent. Need someone to clean cauldron. Cauldron may be haunted. Hard pass. Seeking conversational partner for lonely hedge wizard. Must enjoy soup. I'm not a therapist. Looking for bard. No instruments, no fire tricks, no juggling. Must speak with dramatic flair. My eyes narrowed. "Speak with flair," I said aloud. "Sweet cheese of Melora, they seek me." Bokk clucked ominously, or approvingly. Hard to tell with him. Lord Malwyn Thistledown lived in a manor so large it required a tour guide and a small goat for scale. I was led through 3 drawing rooms, 2 indoor fountains, and a statue of a man kissing a turnip before I found him. He looked like a man who'd been inconvenienced by sunlight.
"You're the actor?"
He asked, inspecting me like a tax form. "Bozwick the Bard," I said, sweeping a bow. "Thespian of unparalleled poise, master of the dramatic pause, and one-time survivor of interpretive mimicry gone horribly wrong." He sighed.
"Can your chicken behave?"
"Define behave."
"If he pecks the butler, you're not getting paid."
"Noted." The audience was a grim-faced collection of minor nobles and their major egos. They stood about sipping wine and nibbling cheese that cost more than my last month's rent. The theme of the night? Elevated cultural discourse. Translation: Rich folks standing around trying to pretend they understand poetry. I cleared my throat snapped my fingers for Bokk to perch on the centerpiece, and launched into my one-chicken show. The Cluckfather. A tale of crime, betrayal, and breadcrumbs. Bokk played Don Feathery Cluckarelli, the godfather of a poultry syndicate. I narrated every line with sweeping gestures and far too much intensity. They thought they could poach his eggs, but the yolk was on them. Bokk pecked a breadstick in cold silence. Someone snorted wine. I continued. They called him a bird brain, but he had the mind of a foul genius. By the time I reached the part where Cluckarelli's right wing betrayed him for a better perch, half the room was wheezing. Lord Malwyn himself had leaned so far forward in amusement, he nearly fell off his tasseled ottoman. I took a bow. Bokk pooped in a goblet. It was poetry. Malwyn handed me a pouch of silver so heavy I nearly wept.
You are deeply strange.
I take that as the highest compliment.
Don't.
Back at the Hollow Oak, I slammed the pouch on the bar like a knight presenting a dragon's head. Talia raised an eyebrow.
Did you rob someone by chance?
Performed, I said proudly. No juggling, no singing, just raw, dramatic, poultry-based genius. She counted the coins.
1 silver over.
Bokk demands a roasted turnip. She blinked.
What?
He was promised one. It was a verbal contract. There were witnesses. I think that inebriated old chap with the scraggly beard sitting at the end of the counter heard us. She snorted and handed me a plate.
Exactly what you owe, again.
That night, with coin in pocket and a pie in hand, I sat by the fire with Bokk, who had wedged himself into an armchair and was clucking softly at the flames. Today was a good day, I said, chewing loudly. You didn't attack anyone with a lute. I didn't get arrested. And we only mildly terrified the upper class. Bokk let out a satisfied burp. Someday, I said, they'll write songs about us. He clucked once and flapped lazily. Or, probably not. But still, we paid rent. That's heroic enough. The fire crackled. The stew simmered. And I, Bozwick the Bard, once again, lives to exaggerate another day. Morning came far too quickly, as it often does when one sleeps on a bed of questionable springs and overdue rent. I lay sprawled across my mattress, staring at the ceiling, pondering life's great mysteries, like how many performances it would take to pay off my tab, or why my socks never matched. My thoughts, as they often do, wandered back to where it all began, the Thistlewhip Conservatory. Now, let's be clear. I was never technically expelled from the Thistlewhip Conservatory for the performing magical arts and theatrical studies. No formal paperwork, no ceremony. Just a strongly worded letter, a minor explosion in the music hall, and a mutual understanding that my unique interpretation of a fireball finale would be best explored elsewhere. No, what happened was more of a mutual understanding between myself and the faculty. I would leave. They would stop having nightmares about the shadow puppet incident. A truce sealed in silence, and a hastily signed diploma that may or may not have originally been addressed to someone named Boswit. But desperate times call for desperate bard work, and this morning, as I left the inn and made my way to the Thistlewhip Conservatory, I was once again crossing the grand, ivy-draped courtyard of the institution that taught me, 1, the importance of stage presence, and 2, how to exit a burning building gracefully. Bokk strutted beside me, head held high. His claws tapped on the cobblestones like the ticking clock of doom. This is it, I muttered, gazing up at the stained-glass windows depicting legendary bards past. Back where it all began, home of screaming professors, broken harpsichords, and the struggling students trying to make a name for themselves to be one of the greatest entertainers Jindari has to offer. I was one of them. I navigated the hallway with the confidence of a man who definitely wasn't still banned from 3 classrooms. The conservatory smelled the same as ever: dust, ink, and the faint scent of crushed dreams. Room 7C hadn't changed. except for the addition of 3 extra locks on the door, which felt excessive. Inside stood Master Bellwicket, my former music theory instructor, a man whose soul had aged 10 years every time I performed. He was tall, bony, and had the permanent posture of someone bracing for disaster. When he saw me, he dropped his chalk and hissed through his teeth.
You still exist?
Master Bellwicket, I beamed. Your hairline has retreated with such dignity. He stared at Bokk, who was already pecking the corner of a music stand.
You brought that chicken back?
I never travel without my co-star. He twitched.
Do you have any idea the amount of magical trauma therapy required after your last performance?
If I had a copper for every time someone said that, I mused, I could afford a decent meal. Bellwicket pinched the bridge of his nose.
What do you want, Bozwick?
Work, I said. The dramatic arts are calling me. Talia wants rent, possibly blood. I need coin. He blinked.
You want employment?
Gainful, honest, emotionally scarring employment. Yes. He hesitated, then pulled open a drawer and produced a rolled parchment with trembling fingers.
There's a local merchant guild gathering in the lecture amphitheater tonight. They requested someone energetic.
Say no more, I said, taking the scroll. I am the pinnacle of enthusiasm.
You're a pinnacle, all right. In my backside.
The Merchant Guild's event was titled Trade, Tariffs, and Turnips, a retrospective. I know. You'd think this was a comedy setup. It wasn't. They really wanted a bard to perform between speakers discussing root crop import taxes. I stood behind the curtain, pacing as Bokk fluffed his feathers aggressively. They'll love it, I whispered. It's dramatic. It's heartfelt. It's historically inaccurate. They'll never forget it. He pecked my shin. You're right. We should open with the tragic monologue. The curtain lifted. I strode onto the stage like I owned it. Technically, I was trespassing, but theatrically, I was the building. Good evening, I boomed. Prepare yourselves for a tale of forbidden commerce, smuggled cabbages, and the forbidden romance between a silk merchant and a radish farmer's son. The guild stared. I began my one-act play. The Smuggler's Ledger. It featured a noblewoman with a forged shipping manifest. And Bokk, ever the feathered thespian, fluttered from a bar stool to the podium, pecking dramatic nonsense onto the wood like a chicken possessed by the spirit of interpretive dance. Forced laughter rippled through the crowd. Confusion thickened. A triumph. That is, until Bokk, drunk on the applause, or possibly the fermented corn from earlier, launched himself onto the treasurer's shoulder, screamed directly into the man's ear, and punctuated the performance with a steaming pile of poultry commentary. That was not appreciated. After the curtain closed, by which I mean the janitor pulled it shut while muttering angrily, Master Bellwicket met me backstage. His left eye twitched.
You performed?
They laughed, I said, proudly dusting off my sleeves.
They screamed.
They felt something. He shoved an envelope into my hand.
Here. 10 silver. That's what they budgeted.
Only 10? I blinked. For art?
It was mostly for you to leave.
Bokk flapped onto my shoulder and clucked smugly. He knew. He knew we had done something powerful. As I left, Bellwicket called after me.
Oh, and Bozwick?
I turned as he sighed.
Do us both a huge favor. Don't come back. Ever.
Back at the Hollow Oak, Talia was wiping the bar with the kind of enthusiasm reserved for funerals. I dropped the envelope on the counter. Coin, as promised. She opened it, counted it, and blinked.
Exactly what you owe, again.
What can I say? I'm a dragonborn of precision and poor planning. She poured me a mug of something frothy and probably legal.
You'll be broke again by morning.
I'm an artist. That's my brand. Bokk hopped onto a stool and immediately began pecking at the napkin holder with hostile intent. Talia stared at him.
Does he ever relax?
Only during solstice. He's deeply spiritual, she smirked.
Well, congrats. You're solvent. For now.
I lifted my mug and grinned. To academia, missed opportunities, and interpretive chicken drama. Bokk clucked once, then fell asleep on a plate of leftover bread and partially eaten venison someone abandoned 2 hours ago. And so we ended the night. Fed, paid, and only lightly traumatized. A successful performance, if you ask me, but I know you didn't.